Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. I am Kate Magdziuk. You could follow me on Twitter at FFBallBlast, and I am joined by a much healthier sounding Marcus Mosher. You can find him at No Longer Needs Tissues at Marcus_Mosher on Twitter. Very excited to see you back and looking a little bit more like yourself, Marcus, because we were worried. We wanted to make you last throughout the season. We needed you to hang on.
I feel great, and a big reason why is to Jonathan Taylor's performance last night. I mean, just crushed it in all the leagues I own him in. So thank you very much, JT.
Yeah, nobody knows this, but he's low-key a healer in his free time. Everybody, please give the show a follow at Locked On Dynasty. Hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast, and check out our YouTube channel right now. If you're listening to this on the podcast, this is a live show on YouTube. You can go on, you can ask us your Dynasty questions because we're live streaming and it's super fun. So keep an eye out because Marcus will be tweeting those out as we go. We've got some Thursday night football to talk about. We've got some Odell Beckham Jr. drama to talk about. Shall we dive in?
We should, and we should really start with Jonathan Taylor. I know I kind of joked about it at the beginning, but my goodness, what a performance last night. 19 carries for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also added in 2 receptions for 28 yards. I made this case on Twitter last night, but I'm going to ask you right now, Kate. Is
Dynasty
Jonathan
RB1,
Taylor
yes.
the RB1 for next year? He is, right?
Yep. 100%.
I want to give you some
and it
stats.
Hurts.
Why does it hurt?
It hurts because Christian McCaffrey has had that seat warmed for a very long time. He's when somebody's sitting down and then you steal their seat and how it's warm and it's nice for you because the seat's warm and cozy and broken in. But poor Christian McCaffrey, he just had a seat stolen.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's dive into this, Kate, because I'm fascinated by this. I think one of the reasons why people not only in Dynasty, but also redraft were a little bit lower on Jonathan Taylor compared to some of the other running backs was Nyheim Hines is really good. Like, he's just a good player, right? And he's going to have a role on this Colts team. We saw it last night, like super productive, even when Jonathan Taylor had a big game. However, that's okay because Jonathan Taylor just continues to produce. Kate, do you realize in his last 15 games, Jonathan Taylor's last 15 games, because remember, he didn't really start the season last year. They were using Marlon Mack, and they kind of eased him into the workload. But in his last 15 games, he is at 1,951 yards and 17 touchdowns. Basically, you're getting over 100 yards and a touchdown every single game he plays. And I just think with that kind of consistency, how can you rank anybody else ahead of him, especially when you consider how young he is? He's 22 years old. He's a full year younger than somebody like Najee Harris.
Yes, he is. He's younger. I mean, in those, in these last, just this season alone, he's on a 16-game pace for just under 2,000 scrimmage yards and 16 touchdowns. Every time he touches the ball, it's a breakaway run. And I think, like, despite all the jokes about Carson Wentz, despite all the stupid mistakes that he makes, I do think he's better for this offense. We're seeing Michael Pittman really come into his own there. I mean, this could just be a really solid offensive team for, the couple of years to come here. And it's really hard not to make those arguments there for Jonathan Taylor. Even when it comes to like touch totals, I feel like everybody was concerned about Jonathan Taylor's touch totals coming into the NFL because he had so many touches through his collegiate career. But, again, let's look at Christian McCaffrey. He is, as I said, he has been warming the seat for, years now at this point, and he is the king of all touches. Don't worry about it with Jonathan Taylor when, he's as young as he is, and he's got a complimentary back. I think Nyheim Hines is nothing but good for Jonathan
Yes.
Taylor, despite the fact that you would rather see him touch the ball 40 to 50
It's better
times
for
a
his
game.
long-term value, right? He's not going to get
Yes.
killed with touches, right? Like I think we could have this version of Jonathan Taylor where it's 100 yards and a touchdown a game for the next 4 or 5 years. Like that's not inconceivable at all. And we just really haven't had a running back like that since Derrick Henry, who, now broke his foot. I'm not saying Henry broke his foot.
It's too
because of
soon to
all the
talk about
touches.
that, Marcus.
Yeah, it is.
Too
I don't
soon.
want to talk about that. Can we talk about Michael Pittman, though? How about that for a little segue? Michael Pittman had another really nice game last night. 5 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. I think he could have even had a bigger game if the Jets were competent at all. But he is on pace for like 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns this year, Kate. Firmly a wide receiver too, correct?
Very, very firmly. I mean, he's just all over the field. Like T.Y. Hilton, we can't bank on. I feel like we weren't really sure what kind of role he'd have, but it's very clear that T.Y. Hilton, at this point in his career, like health is just not something that he has much of.
Right.
He's the clear wide receiver one, and despite the fact that they do get other positions involved, it's not an offense that overly targets the wide receiver position. They spread the ball around to the running backs, to the tight ends. But despite that, still on pace for 126 targets so far in the season. I mean, I think it's really hard to argue with that, especially with Paris Campbell out of the lineup.
Yep.
He's by far and away the best option. He looks good doing it.
Yeah, that's a guy that I think even now, despite producing really well, you'd be buying high. I'm okay with that. I just think he's going to be so solid and so consistent in this role, and he's only getting better the more he plays with Carson Wentz. One more guy I just want to mention really quickly, Elijah Moore. He had a breakout game on
Finally.
Thursday night. Yeah, finally. 7 receptions for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. But this was coming a little bit because he's had at least 6 targets in the last 3 games. It does seem like, maybe the Jets are going to lean into him being more of a featured player. Even over the last 6 games that he's played, he's averaging 6 targets a game. I'd like to see that target share go up a little bit to maybe 7 or 8, but it's pretty clear Elijah Moore is going to be a factor in fantasy leagues for the rest of the season. Just any thoughts before we move on?
My only question in regards to Elijah Moore's relevance is, does he maintain that same level of relevance right now with Zach Wilson under center? I know,
I think
it
so.
seems really silly, but I mean, just looking at the depth of target that Zach Wilson has been throwing down the field, he's just shooting the ball up in the air and hoping to God somebody comes down with it. That's not as good for Elijah Moore. Like I would rather get the ball in Elijah Moore's hands, maybe, in a mid-range pass and let him do some work after the catch. He's got like some of the best hands, just
It's
anywhere.
true.
He's so solid. Let him make those plays. But I mean, Zach Wilson, maybe I think he needs to learn to utilize, some of those shorter range options if he is going to open things up down deep. So I think maybe we're seeing maybe a transition in the offense to a safer offense, hopefully, where they're just not as prone to turning the ball over. That would be good for my
Maybe
guy,
this
Elijah
time
Moore.
off for Zach Wilson will help him realize that he just needs to take some of the safer throws. Not every ball has to be a YOLO, throw it up in the air, let somebody go catch it. We'll see. All right. I want to take a quick break to tell you guys about McDonald's. This episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family from the community can come together. A big thank you to all of our friends at McDonald's for always being there. So head to your local McDonald's today to refuel and reconnect and get a sausage McGriddle. That's our recommendation. We are big sausage McGriddle fans on the Locked On Dynasty podcast. So, Kate, I love it when you do the jingle. Will you do it for us?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.
Perfect. All right, let's get into the breaking news. So as we're recording this show, the Browns have officially announced that they are releasing wide receiver Odell Beckham. We kind of had a feeling this was coming for a couple days, Kate. So let's just kind of cover this from all angles. Let's start with Odell. Where would you like to see him wind up to kind of maximize his fantasy value?
I think right now, I would really, really love to see him go to the New England Patriots. I think it makes so much sense. I think Odell is a guy that I think needs a little bit of structure right now. He's coming off a pretty tumultuous situation there, and I think he'd be a really good fit. As they start to expand the playbook a little bit for Mac Jones, and get him open down the field. I mean, can you think of a better target than Odell Beckham Jr.? I mean, this has been coming for a long time. We've seen he just doesn't have that chemistry with Baker Mayfield. They don't have the offense right now that he's made to force feed Odell. And Odell does his best work when he is fed the ball and allowed to make big Odell Beckham plays. Has he made the case for that kind of workload lately? No, but I do think the talent is still there. There's no way you start off your career as Odell Beckham did and lose that talent. He is still a talented football player. We've seen the splash plays. I would love to pair him with Mac Jones and see what they can do. Because Mac Jones, he's a pretty accurate quarterback.
Mhm.
He can get it down the field, even though they're playing, a safer version of the playbook right now. How about you? What's your favorite go-to spot? Because I think, New England, he becomes the wide receiver one.
He
Is
does.
there anywhere else where he instantly becomes the guy?
I don't know if he becomes the guy in a lot of places right now, but I mean, it seems dumb, but I would say Kansas City. I think Patrick Mahomes could handle a personality like that. I think Andy Reid has certainly done it before, right? It seems like they could fit him into this offense and he would give them a little bit what they're missing, right? They're missing somebody who can kind of work the short to intermediate part of the field and make plays after the catch because now defenses are just playing two safeties back. And if you had Odell coming out of the slot or as the X receiver, I think that would make a lot of sense. I don't think it's going to happen, but
There's been I've seen like a lot of that chatter though. And I do, I'm going to be honest. I think like if you have him in that situation in Kansas City, obviously like you're in a position to turn that team around. They're only one game behind. But
like you replace him from Josh Gordon, right? You cut Josh Gordon and you move on and you put Odell Beckham in that spot. I think your team is much
yes,
more explosive, right?
but does that solve Odell's I think that would be great for the Chiefs, but that doesn't serve Odell very much because his whole
Yeah.
issue is that he wants the ball, and I don't think he's
Yeah.
going to get that lion's share of targets there in Kansas City just because they have too many talented weapons.
I
We
agree.
have CEH who can be coming back soon. How about another team that's got a much better record than I think any of us would have projected at this point in the season? The New Orleans Saints are sitting at 5-2. Michael Thomas is out for the season. Obviously, they don't have Jameis Winston. They've lost him to injury. What do you think about giving, this team an actual shot? They're leaning on the defense, but Odell Beckham could really open things up. Imagine him, and then you get your short range targets to Alvin Kamara, get
Yeah.
Mark Ingram involved there. I think that could be a really fun offense, regardless of who's at quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with you. But if Odell thought his life sucked with Baker Mayfield, I can't imagine what he's going to think with Taysom Hill. That doesn't seem. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Saints. Like if Jameis is your quarterback, but not with Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill, my gosh, Odell, that would be one of the worst situations you could go in. I'm going to call my shot right now. Here's where I think he lands. All right, San Francisco. I
Mm.
think he's a perfect fit in the Shanahan offense. It's pretty clear that Kyle Shanahan hates Brandon Ayuk for whatever reason. Debo
Hates.
Samuel is the number one receiver on this team, but him and Odell play very different positions in different ways, right? I think you could work him into the offense. I think the 49ers are a team that's pretty clear they're trying to win right now. I think that would really boost their passing game, and I think he would do well there.
Yeah, I mean, Debo Samuel is the guy that you get the ball in his hands. He can do anything after the catch. Odell's the guy that can make the splash catch, like at the point of catch, he can make the clutch play. Obviously, Odell's just so talented, and I do think that that talent is all still there. Regardless of where he ends up, I do think, I mean, the balls are going to be in his court.
Yeah.
Um, Now, correct me if I'm wrong. So I know last year, at least as I was familiar with the rules, Odell wouldn't have had to clear waivers. I thought it was only on players who are in the league for 4 years or less. But I saw some chatter about Odell Beckham on waivers.
Yes.
Do you have any insight there?
Yes, he's on waivers because we are past the trade deadline. It's one of these kind of weird
Okay.
things where it makes it that way. But I do believe the Browns have altered his salary, his contract, so he's more appealing for teams to claim him. I believe he's only going to cost the team $1 million to sign him for the rest of the season. So not a lot. So that makes it a little tricky because any team could claim him. Basically every team has cap space to get him. He could go to the Lions or Jacksonville, but my guess is that you don't orchestrate your way out of Cleveland via this social media campaign to wind up in Jacksonville. Like I think he's got a certain teams that he would go to and play for, and I think the rest of the league kind of knows that, right? So
I'm sure his agent has reached out to, not beforehand because that would be tampering, I think.
now he has, right?
Now he has, like, I'm sure he just sent out like a, like in The Office, how they had that woof thing that they were trialing out where you get the
The Ryan Howard
notifications
woof, yeah.
everywhere. They have a woof going out to all of the NFL teams that Odell likes. And I'm sure similarly they're keying in on certain teams and saying, yeah, don't worry about Odell. You can let him clear waivers. Because he's made it clear that, I mean, this is his decision. And he's going to do what he can to get in a position to win now.
All right, let's just quickly talk about the Cleveland side of things and who this helps. I do think this helps Baker. I'm one of these people that do believe that Odell kind of messed with Baker's, accuracy, and I think Baker wanted to make sure he tried to feed him the ball. I think Baker's just a better quarterback when he's not on the field. But what receiver does this benefit the most, not having him there?
I think this probably benefits. I mean, obviously Jarvis Landry, who is, getting healthier. He's got at least 50 receiving yards in 2 of his 4 games this season. Saw 10 targets in their loss to Pittsburgh, which was super. Not necessarily efficient, but you like to see that kind of usage for a guy that's a general. He feels like he's perennially. Oh my gosh, perennially.
Every year. Yeah.
Every year he's undervalued. Played 90% of the snaps. So I do think we might be seeing some more Jarvis Landry and perhaps more Jarvis Landry efficiency. But I'm interested to see how this works out with the tight ends. David Njoku, final year of his rookie deal. So from a dynasty perspective, what does this make in terms of like Austin Hooper?
Nothing. I don't think it.
No?
I mean, it helps them maybe a little bit, but it's not going to make me change my ranks too much on guys like Hooper because we kind of know what they are, right? Like, I think the guy that could benefit the most is Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he's not healthy right now. He's missed the last couple of games. I think he could kind of step in and be the consistent deep threat for this team with more snaps. But the truth is, we're probably just not moving anybody up all that much, right?
No, because this is a run first offense to begin with.
Right.
There's no, like looking at Odell Beckham snaps, targets, he's not the centerpiece of this offense now, which has been the issue in the first place. So I don't think there's any player you can really bump up one way or the other, but definitely just a few more targets to go around for the entire offense. Maybe Kareem Hunt when healthy. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Some of that
I could see Kareem Hunt having a little bit bigger role. That's a good one. If your team needed a receiver, like in real life, would you want them to claim Odell?
I think it depends on, the vibe of your team, right? Like, I think not every team can handle Odell Beckham Jr. And not every
Raiders.
team can
Would the Raiders be a good
manage
fit or
that
no?
personality. What'd you say?
Would the Raiders be a good fit? Because I don't think so. I actually think
I
that's
don't think so.
not the kind of player that they need right now.
I think just from a leadership perspective, right now, like Derek Carr, kudos to Derek Carr, who's come out and managed some really difficult situations as of late. I think they need a bit more stability there. Like Odell Beckham Jr., he's I think people inflate his flair for drama a little bit. He gets a bad rap in terms of the drama, but I do think that, just his personality and all that, you need a quieter leader, I think,
I actually
there.
think Deshaun Jackson's a better fit for them because they don't need a number one receiver in that offense. They really just need somebody who can stretch the defense a little bit because that passing attack just kind of funnels through Darren Waller and Hunter Renfro anyways,
And they
right?
could use like a Papa Bear, right? Like
Yeah,
Deshaun
they
Jackson
need
comes
somebody
in and
like
he's
that.
an instant Papa Bear.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. All right, let's take one more quick break so I can tell you guys about Bet Online. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated site to sign up today and receive your welcome bonus of 50% on your first deposit. Just use promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. Also, want to tell you guys about Built Bar. You know Built Bar. It's absolutely fantastic. It's hard to even explain it. Real chocolate, amazing flavors. It's just a great combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they taste amazing. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your next box at BuiltBar.com. All right, Kate, let's do some promotion commotion. And I've got
Woo,
a
woo.
good name for you, but I want you to go first. Who is somebody that you're promoting from your bench into your starting lineup this week?
All right. This is testing, but I'm rolling with Jordan Howard, who actually showed out last week. It's so funny. They place Miles Sanders on injured reserve, and then they decide that they are going to start running the ball as much and as often as possible. I think this backfield is going to be a little bit of a mess between Boston Scott, between Kenny Gainwell. It might not be the prettiest picture, but Jordan Howard, he instantly comes into this role as a goal line back, essentially. And I do think that, he's definitely been a factor for the Eagles before. He's been a part of this offense before. It's not Nick Sirianni necessarily, but he's very familiar to the Eagles offense. So I think if there's question marks heading into this next game against the Chargers, they could definitely lean on him, and the Chargers can't stop the run.
I like that. I like Boston Scott more this week, but that's my thought. We got a question, Kate, from a listener on YouTube. They want to know if you were offered Hunter Renfro for Odell Beckham in PPR leagues, would you take it? That's a really interesting one.
I'm holding Odell there.
I'm taking Renfro. Do you know Renfro has
Wow.
at least 5 receptions in every game but one this year? It's pretty impressive.
I mean, I think Renfro is one of like the safest PPR options at this point. But my question comes on the back of the ceiling. What is Hunter Renfro's ceiling for fantasy football? Do you
Not
think
very
it's
high.
even it's not anywhere as close as you would like it to be in terms of what you're projecting for Odell?
But it might be one of those things like, okay, obviously Odell's not going to be able to play this week because he doesn't clear waivers until Monday, which means he might not even play next week. So you're just running out of usable weeks for Odell, right? And if you need somebody to get you 11 points every single week in a PPR league, I think I would lean Renfro. I just have more faith about his long-term future than I do Odell, who's going to be on a new team in a couple days. He's probably going to be on a new team next year when he hits free agency again. I probably lean Renfro. Man, that's a sad fall for Odell. All right, let's get to some more promotion commotion. That's a good question, though. I got a tight end, Kate. How about Albert O for the Broncos?
Oh, I
Noah
love
Fant.
this.
Yes. Oh, Noah Fant is on the COVID list. The Broncos are going to be in a game where they're probably going to need to score a lot of points against the Cowboys in Dallas. We saw him last week. He was okay in a limited role, 3 for 34 on 3 targets. I'm not saying he's going to have a monster game, but could he get to, I don't know, 5 for 55 and maybe a touchdown? I think that's possible.
Yeah, I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility. I mean, I feel like every time he's been healthy and in the game, he's actually looked pretty solid, even with Noah Fant in the mix. So excited to see what he can do with a little more experience under his belt. And the field is just wide open for him in terms of what he can do this week. How about I'm gonna close this out with one more. You can shoot it down if you like, but how
Okay.
about Van Jefferson,
Oh,
Los Angeles Rams wide receiver against the Tennessee Titans? It's not like a super safe play. It's not going to feel very good. You're going to be sweating, but he's averaging 10 PPR points per game. He had a top 12 performance back in week 4. And this week they get the Titans. They're allowing a league high 39 fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position. I mean, who doesn't want one of these appendages of Matthew Stafford at this point, who's just been on a real tear and he's playing really, really high quality football. Tyler Higbee's not assuming a giant role there. So why not continue to spread the ball out to Van Jefferson, who is capable of making some nice plays?
yeah, I think that's a great call. I think Van Jefferson is a really nice play this week. Any of the New England running backs interest you? Brandon Bolden, Ramondre Stevenson, anybody that's intriguing?
No.
No, I kind of agree. That was where I was going to go with one of those guys, but I just, I'm good. I like the Van Jefferson call. We should leave it with that one. 'Cause I do think
Leave
it's
it on a
another
high
good pick.
note.
Yeah, leave it on a high note. That is it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, you can download us wherever you get your podcasts. Please check us out on YouTube. I know more of you guys are doing that. We really, really appreciate it. Kate and I spend so much time every day getting ready for the show, putting on our faces ready. That's not true.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of just roll out of bed. But make sure you guys check us out on YouTube. You can follow the show again at Locked On Dynasty. Ryan and Matt will be here on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Kate and I will have your Monday recap. And enjoy the Week 9 games. We'll see you guys next time.